Welcome, welcome, welcome to Paris. It's something that I've been meaning to say for a while, so I'll do it in French, if that's okay with you. Bienvenue. C'est un immense plaisir de vous dire bonjour ici à Paris, and I think that's about it. I think otherwise the conversation will be a bit rocky. I'm not used to actually presenting in French, but it's an immense pleasure to be here with you today and to talk about, I guess, the state of HEDNA and what we're doing and what we have in store. So, without further ado, I want to break it up into sort of two sections, because I do think personally I have the best job in the world. I'm your president. And as a result, I get to speak all day, all week, all year with all of you about what's happening in the industry, what's happening around us, how factors are impacting our industry, and where opportunities are. So whether it was last night or whether it was last week or last year, I want to share some of these findings with you that I feel are noteworthy, and then talk to you a little bit about what HEDNA is doing. We've all remember, this particular situation in the last 18 months, or at least the last 2 years, which was the pandemic. But here's a fun fact for you that was published fairly recently. The World Travel and Tourism Council estimates about $7 trillion were the total loss to the travel industry in 2021 alone. And that's not including 2020. So here's a fun fact that impacted everyone, and it impacted to a certain extent HEDNA. We've been meaning to do a European conference for about a year and a half. We had 2 attempts at doing the event in Vienna. We went to the larger city, Paris, and thanks to Sandra for helping us secure this. But it is something that, brought us into complete lockdown. We spent time and time on our couches in our homes doing this, looking at our screen and thinking about a day when we would go back and travel, right? And when we did, were able to travel, pent-up demand was real. You saw CNN earlier about a crazy summer, or talking about a crazy summer. And, depending on where you look in the world, in North America particularly, there's a huge pent-up demand, and there's a huge intention to travel, which taught us a completely new competency as travelers, which is to get in line, to actually, realize that we can no longer experience travel the way we were told through Instagram and through social media that we could. So there's a lot of people that experienced delays at airports, but also delays at attraction. This was one that I felt like I should share with you. This is a beautiful property in Canada where a social media influencers creating completely new inventory, right? This is a room that doesn't exist. The bed is not located where they make it out to be, and they're creating a complete new inventory. And I wonder how many guests they get upon arrival that is asking, or that are asking, for the room with the bed on the window. Love this comment from the housekeeper that says, "I hope you put it back." We are, however, not, I guess it's a tale of two directions. On one hand, we have regions that are doing extremely well, and there are others that are potentially facing headwinds, whether that's through a war in the Ukraine or whether that is through increased inflation. I did not mean to exclude the United Kingdom. They are still there, somewhere here in Europe, I hope. Their inflation rate currently in July sits at 11%, and I'm sure we'll hear a little bit more about that as well. These were my travel experiences this summer, and I'm sure some of you experienced something similar. But when I listened to a conversation yesterday in the payment track, it basically summarized it to this, which is, on one hand, right, we have consumers that have been completely, I guess, trained and educated on how to engage with anything contactless, right? On one hand, my parents now know how to Zoom, how to Skype, and how to reach me at any point in time. This is when my phone is in the back and not here with me. So on one hand, we have a consumer that is extremely digital savvy. And on the other hand, we're slowed down by either operational procedures, old technology, or even lack of staff. I personally believe HEDNA can do something about this, and I look forward to the next few days together on how we close that gap, on how we enable a digital traveler. So how's HEDNA doing? In 2021, it was a rocky year for everyone, including for us. We're a non-for-profit organization. What that means is all our revenues go back into the association. We entered the year with a cushion, with a buffer, planning for a rainy day. This is an okay result. We had about $500,000 in revenue. We have about $500,000 in reserve. So a loss of $23,000 was something that we felt extremely comfortable, knowing the environment in which we were at, knowing that we had to cancel events or move them into 2022. This year, we forecast to end up with roughly $15,000 in net profits. It's something that helps us recover some of our losses in the past. But we're extremely grateful and happy with, if you will, the state of our association. A lot happened in 2022 as well. We saw members come back in 22. All of our members from 2021 renewed, and we've been growing membership ever since. We've been now at 124 members. And that is, of course, helping us as an association remain healthy and hopefully relevant to all of our members. This particular conference we couldn't do without two masterminds, two, I would say, endless warriors, if you will, because sometimes they do face headwinds. Natalie and Sandra, big shout out to them, and please join me in saying thank you. They had fantastic support by Shinmai and Ben, who assisted them throughout the process. Sandra is the one that we have to thank you for being in this beautiful, fantastic property at a highly competitive rate. So thank you very much for allowing us to be at this beautiful property. We are here to serve you, and I want to make sure that we have an opportunity to identify all the board members out of the room. If you wouldn't mind getting up for a second and just waving to the audience. If you're already standing in the back, please find a seat or just wave. But we have fantastic members. Their role is to represent the industry, to represent HEDNA as an organization. We have a board election coming up at the end of this year, and I will look forward to welcoming a lot of new board members, of course, as part of this election process. So do look out for notification hitting your inboxes in the upcoming months. All of our events, all of our conferences couldn't happen without the support of our sponsors. These are our annual HEDNA partners that support us throughout the year. Here are our HEDNA Platinum sponsors, our Silver sponsors, and our Bronze sponsors. And with that, thank you very much for your support. Thank you very much for listening. And I want to wish you a fantastic conference, and I look forward to catching up with you personally in the next couple of days. Thank you.